Hi, this is Ryan, and today we'll be talking about the EOS process. This is the process that we'll use step by step to implement EOS in your business, in your organization. So where do we start? Well, we start with a 90-minute meeting. This is a complimentary 90-minute session where we're talking to you. Typically we come to you, so it's an in-person meeting. Sometimes we do phone calls as well, but it's a 90-minute meeting where we really get introduced to you, your leadership team, and introduce you to us. We'll start off telling you a little bit about us, about EOS, the system, how it works, why it works. Then we want to hear about you. Tell us about you. Tell us about the issues you're having, how you've tried to solve them maybe. How are you running the business now? What are your goals? This is what we'll start talking about during the 90-minute meeting. Then we'll, at a really high level, introduce you to the EOS tools. There's over 20 tools in the EOS toolbox. And trust me, these tools, you'll be familiar with all of them before the process is over. But we'll hit them all at a high level during this 90-minute meeting. Next, we'll again reiterate this process. We'll cover it in a little bit more detail and answer any questions you may have so you'll know what to expect next. After that, we really get started. We jump in with our first full focus day. This is a one-day off-site meeting. We recommend off-site because we found that honestly, companies seem to be much less distracted. They focus a lot more if they're not in their offices. So by getting off-site, we kind of give you a little bit better opportunity to focus. So this is a full one-day meeting. At this meeting, we're talking about hitting the ceiling, what it is, the concept of hitting the ceiling, why companies hit the ceiling, and how we can push through to make progress beyond our current plateau. We'll talk about the accountability chart. If you've ever used an org chart, you may think you know what an accountability chart is. Well, an accountability chart is an org chart on steroids. It's honestly one of my favorite tools. This will address people issues, it'll address staffing problems, and you'll very clearly see maybe some issues and how to solve them just looking at your organization and how it's structured. And it's not uncommon to see companies restructure after they go through this accountability chart exercise. Rocks are the next thing. Rocks are really those 90-day goals. They're what we're doing to accomplish our long-term goals. It's not uncommon, again, to see companies choose way too many goals. We've seen 15, 20, 30 goals that they consider priority. You can't have that many priorities, so we're here to help you really limit those and find out what is our laser focus and get those things accomplished. And then meeting pulse. Again, we've all been, trust me, I have been, you have been, we've all been in those meetings where they ended and we ask ourselves, why did I sit through that meeting? That's an hour of my life I'll never get back. Well, I promise you with EOS that will never happen again. Your meetings from here on out will be effective. They have a clear agenda and we will follow that agenda. So meeting pulse, meeting rhythm, one of my favorite things to talk about. Next is scorecard. So the story here goes, if you're on the beach, say you're in the Bahamas, you got some sand on your back, sitting there, the waves are kind of lapping against your feet, and the waiter maybe brings out an index card and hands it to you. What numbers need to be on that card for you to look at and say, yep, the business is running great. These are the metrics, the KPIs for your business that we can use, that you can use to say everything's running well or it's not. These are numbers that we will look at weekly. By looking at them weekly, you can really quickly tell if a course correction needs to be made. And instead of waiting to the end of the quarter or worse, even the end of the year, these numbers will be looked at weekly. We'll be able to find out if adjustments need to be made or not. Next is our vision. So with our vision days, these are really 2 days, vision day 1, vision day 2, and we separate them by 30 days. So we start off with focus day, we wait 30 days and we do vision day 1, and then we wait 30 days and do vision day 2. You may ask, why are we doing that? Well, we found that this spaced learning really seems to work well. It gives people an opportunity to learn a tool, go implement it in their business, and then come back, make some adjustments, tweak it a little bit, and then get back to work on it. It seems to work really well, and that's why we use this method. So between these 2 vision days, again, 2 full days off-site separated by a month. We'll start talking about core values. Again, core values shouldn't be a cliche. They shouldn't be just a piece of paper hanging on the wall. They should really be part of your DNA, how you live, how you work, how you eat and sleep. And again, how you fire, hire, reward people. They really need to be part of your business, and this is where we'll start talking about core values. And that leads us to core focus. Again, my logo is a single blue dot. That's to remind me and my clients to focus. It's very easy to get distracted with too many things, the shiny object syndrome. We need to focus. This is where we'll really start talking about core focus, because we want you to be the very best at whatever you're doing. That means you can't do 50 things. So we're talking about core focus, and this is where we really start nailing down what is you and your company's core focus. Next is our 10-year target. Let's look at that long-term picture and figure out where do we want to be in 10 years. I've never yet seen a company on the first try have everybody choose the same 10-year target. That means everybody's not on the same page. So this is our opportunity to start getting everybody on the same page, rowing in the same direction with where do we want to be long term. It's very easy to make decisions, or much easier at least, to make decisions today if we know where we want to be. It's kind of a filter we can use to help us make better decisions today. That takes us to our marketing strategy. By knowing where we want to go, it's easier to figure out how we want to get there. I've seen companies without EOS flounder for over a year trying to figure out a marketing strategy. With EOS, we can really boil this down to its essence and get a marketing strategy hammered out very quickly so you can make sure it aligns with your long-term 10-year picture, 10-year plan. The next is our 3-year picture. If we know where we're going in 10 years, then we can just simply do the math backwards and figure out where do we need to be in 3 years. Again, we're helping get everybody focused, laser focused on that goal. That takes us to our 1-year plan. If we know where we want to be in 3 years, let's back up to 1 year. And that takes us to our quarterly rocks. If we know where we want to be in 12 months, where do we need to be in 3 months? So we're step by step, figuring out where we need to be now in order to achieve our long-term goals. And then the last item we'll talk about during these 2 days is our issues list. One of my favorite things. This is where we actually list problems that you're having and we start solving them. We call it IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. We'll list your issues. We'll knock them down one at a time, stack them up, knock them down in order of priority. So you set the priority and we address them. That way you don't talk around problems, you don't just talk about problems, you get to the root of them and you solve them. It's a little bit easier said than done, but once you get in the habit, trust me, it's amazing. When we start with companies, it's not uncommon to see 50, 60, even 90 issues. After you've run this for a few quarters, those issues will be greatly reduced. I've seen half a dozen issues on issues list before for companies who've been using EOS for a while. So issues list is a very important tool we'll talk about during the 2 vision days. After this, we really get into our quarterly pulsing. This is where we're meeting every 90 days. So during those 90 days, we have a single quarterly offsite meeting. And then at the end of the year, we have a 2-day offsite planning. This is where we're really looking back on the previous year and planning for the future. So very important here, 2-day annual planning at the end of the year in addition to our 1-day quarterly meetings. So what are we doing during this quarterly pulsing? Well, focus and traction. Again, it's been found that people just simply get distracted about every 90 days. So we're bringing everybody together to make sure we're all on the same page, marching in the same direction. Getting people off-site gives them a chance to focus a little bit better. And we're making sure that we're getting some traction here, make sure we're actually accomplishing our goals. Next is team health. Again, having some off-site camaraderie, a little bit of team building. We're really increasing that team health. And again, open and honest. That's something you'll hear me say a lot, be open and honest. That's where we'll talk about open and honesty. Quarterly rocks will make sure we're doing what we said and make sure we're planning appropriately for the future. We're setting realistic expectations, of course, while we're talking about rocks. Issue solving, again, we had our issues list down here. This is where we're solving issues. You want to turn a skeptic into a huge fan, start solving problems. That's how it's happened in almost every organization I've seen. Once issues start being solved, people who were a little skeptical immediately become huge fans. The next is our toolbox tools. Again, there's over 20 tools in the EOS toolbox, and every time we get together for a full day meeting, we'll do a deeper dive into at least one tool, things that are relevant to you and your business, and trust me, they will over time all be relevant. And then last, accountability. Again, we're just holding each other accountable, make sure we're doing what we say we're doing, and really getting things done. So in a overall, so kind of a quick snapshot here, the first year of EOS, we're talking about working 7 days. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7 days typically that we work with you on site during the first year. And then during each subsequent year, there's 5 days because we're skipping the focus and the 2-day vision. So we're just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So generally we work with clients about 12 days over a 2-year period. At the end of that time, you know EOS well enough, you can simply run it yourself. Of course, some clients say, listen, the benefit of an outside facilitator is hugely important. So some clients say, hey, we want to keep using you beyond the 2-year mark. That's perfectly fine. We love that. But if you're talking about what the process says and what you should really plan for, it's about a 2-year time frame. After that, you will continue using EOS forever. EOS is not something that you use for 2 years and stop, but generally the services of an implementer like myself are not needed beyond 2 years. So I hope this describes the EOS process, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.